Okay. Session.
So, namaskar to all of you. Today's webinar is on very important topic which many of the institution wants to know more and more about, related to the finance management, because finance management, we can say, it is one of the backbone of the institution for who are striving, who are making it efforts for getting a good grade, and also for getting excellence in the higher education system, and also for getting also for matching with the international standard which the NIRF and all the other agencies are working, who are grading the institution. So today we have with us one of the eminent speaker who is a finance officer in one of the largest university in the Asia, Banaras Hindu University. He was also earlier Commissioner of Income Tax and also Additional Commissioner of Income Tax. He is regularly giving his services in the as a finance officer. Earlier also he was a finance officer. And I'm very grateful to the Abhay Kumar Thakur sir, Dr. Abhay Kumar Thakur sir, who is by profession by IRS, and he is the commissioner. Earlier, right now he's a commissioner of income tax, and he's right now on deputation in BHU. So I'm very thankful to Abhay Kumar sir for because whenever I reached him, he straight away accepted our invitation for speaking on today's topic, which is on finance management in institution of higher education, which has a special emphasis on the audit function. So I'm very grateful to the sir. Taking further, I would like to request our one of the senior advisor to NAAC, Dr. Sridhara Shandar, to kindly give an introduction remarks for today's session. Madam, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Nilesh. Nilesh has already told, it's very important. Officially, I would like to welcome everyone. Namaskar. Dr. Abhay Kumar Thakur ji, Finance Officer, Banaras Hindu University. Dr. Srinivas, Dr. Nilesh, distinguished teaching fraternity from different part of the country, and my dear colleagues, on behalf of NAAC family and on my personal behalf, I welcome each one of you for this webinar on finance management in institutes of higher education, special emphasis on audit function. NAAC believes quality is primarily the responsibility of the higher education institutions. To guide the higher education institutions in the quality journey, NAAC has been organizing seminars in collaboration with universities and state governments on different themes related to quality assurance in higher education, with an intent of improving quality provisions of higher education institutions. Even during this pandemic situation, NAAC has been organizing webinars to guide the higher education institutions in the quality journey. So far, NAAC has organized more than 150 webinars on different themes of quality assurance. Finance management is very important in managing quality provisions of HEIs. While looking at the metrics related to financial aspects in the self-study reports of many HEIs, it is observed that higher education institutions are not serious about financial management and they do not present it properly. It is often noticed that HEIs carry out their responsibility without any preset accounting standards. The entire task of auditing the accounts and financial management of education institutions is taken very lightly. Internal audit system must be implemented with quality and seriousness. Management control system must be perfect and effective. HEIs must see whether the accounting standards have been strictly followed by their institutions or not. In order to make the HEIs understand these, the talk on financial management institutes of higher education has been organized. As already told by Dr. Nilesh, Dr. Abhay Kumar Thakur ji, Finance Officer of Banaras Hindu University, the biggest university of India and even Asia, has vast experience in financial management and auditing. Prior to being the finance officer of BHU, he was an income tax commissioner of Government of India and was on various financial committees of Government of India. We felt that he is the best person to talk on this topic. I hope this talk will be very helpful to the higher education institutions. He will be sharing his thoughts and experiences. I once again welcome Dr. Abhay Kumar Thakur ji and everyone present here. I request Dr. Nilesh to introduce the speaker to the audience. Dr. Nilesh, please. Mute है. Nilesh mute है.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm thankful to Dr. Ma'am, Dr. Sujata Madam for giving introductory remarks for today's session. I'm again thankful to Dr. S. Srinivas, who is Deputy Advisor for NAAC, who is also contributing for this program, and also all the members of NAAC who are indirectly or directly contributing here today. So, introducing to Abhay Kumar Thakur sir, who is basically from Indian Revenue Services. As Madam has already told you, he is a Commissioner of Income Tax. Right now, he is serving in the 1RC only, and he was also Additional Commissioner of Income Tax in the same region. And earlier also, he was Joint Director to Income Tax for Income and Central and TDS also. So earlier he was basically his core subject revolves around the financial aspect, and also he has a good information related to, because BHU, as you all know, he is also looking after the IIT BHU also. Not only BHU, he is also looking after IIT BHU also, and he has related to various member and convener of various committee constituted by the this Education Ministry of India. So I thought I requested sir to kindly I requested him to kindly speak on the financial management, because it's very, for us who are not known to these things, they may feel a kind of confusion, because many of the cases comes in while the institution come for filling of the SSR, they ask questions which are very much needed. They are very much needed for giving a brief info, for clear cut information related to the financial aspect. So that's why I requested sir, and I'm very grateful to sir. He just in the quick response, he has accepted our invitation for speaking on today's topic. So now, not taking further time, I request our today's keynote speaker, Dr. Abhay Kumar Thakurji, to kindly speak on today's topic. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh. Thank you, Sujata Madam, Dr. Srinivas, and entire team of NAAC, and all the academic leaders who are representing different parts of the country. At the outset, I convey my gratitude to the NAAC and all the members of the academic fraternity who have given their valuable time in a very, very difficult time which we are all passing through. I pray that you all, along with family members, are fine, and we hope that our country will very soon get out of this meanness. Now, I have prepared a PPT presentation. Of course, I will share with you all, but main emphasis of this webinar, and I would like that there should be a constructive dialogue. It should not be a monologue. So whenever you think that there some clarifications are required, or you want to share your thoughts or visions, you are always welcome. Because ultimately, I believe that all the stakeholders will get enriched by a constructive dialogue. And I'll share, Nilesh, how much time I'll have? You are mute.
Say you can take your, even we have a session, you usually have a session at the end where the participants, we have lots of participants right now, around 90 are there. They will be asking you question depending upon your depending upon whatever the issues they have faced. So after the talk we can have a discussion with the participant also, whatever you feel free, sir. It's
Perfect. So 45 minutes or 1 hour, we will have deliberations, and then I will take all the questions. Questions are welcome. Even suggestions or observations midway are always welcome. So I'll share my PPT.
Share option is there, sir?
Yeah.
दिया हुआ है.
Is it visible?
सर आई थिंक सो. आप जो है ना सर शेयर स्क्रीन करिए. शेयर स्क्रीन में जरा हमें लगता है एप्लीकेशन से किया है आपने.
हाँ हाँ.
आप उसको स्टॉप शेयरिंग करिए और स्क्रीन शेयर स्क्रीन करिए. तो जैसा आप नॉर्मल डेस्कटॉप करते हैं ना सर, वैसा करेंगे तो इजी. अब फिर से करें शेयर स्क्रीन.
Yes.
Is it visible now?
सर 100% clear sir.
Okay. Now, this is a subject, financial management in institutes of higher education, and a special emphasis on audit functions. So my deliberations and observations are primarily based on the two committees wherein I was one of the members for the Government of India Ministry of Education. The financial management aspect is very much important, particularly during the course of pandemic. It is always a critical part of any great institution or institution of higher educations. But in this testing time, it has evolved even more importance, because you have to manage your financial resources with utmost care in order to provide quality education, quality research, and all the facilities to the stakeholders in the university system or the institutes of higher education. I believe that today's participants are mostly from central university or state university or other institutes of higher education. So primarily, management of financial management of or management of financial resources, we start with the sources. Primarily, what are the sources of income for the institution? Primarily, there are two types of sources of income. One is external resources, another internal. External resources include grant in aid from Government of India or state government, loan from HEFA, extramural research or project grants, receipt from multilateral organizations like WHO, UNESCO, UN, or National Institute of Health, US, like endowment or donations, and CSIR grant, which has been implemented by the Government of India within this decade. Then there are internal sources of income for the institutes, consisting of fees from domestic and foreign students, rent from properties, income from consultancy, earning from investment, income from auxiliary services like sale of agricultural produce, etc., income from health services, income from publications, user charges from industries. Then how we can boost the existing income of the institute? There is a challenge. Challenge are multifarious. Not only pandemic has presented a paradigm shift as far as financial capacity of citizens of the country is concerned, but also due to lowering of interest in banking and non-banking financial institutions, the income of the educational institutions has impacted by a great extent. So there is need to explore for ways and means which can augment revenue for the institute, and some of the ideas can be periodic review of fee structure, linkage with industry for industrial collaborations, introduction of self-financing programs, waiver of excise custom duty, share in CSR fund for central university or institutes of higher education, creation of supernumerary seats on higher fees, promotion of research work in areas where there is a potential or possibility based on commercial viable option, patent or formula. Fee structure, raising fees, of course, one of the important areas in which income of the university can be substantially enhanced. However, in the recent background, when citizens are greatly affected by a pandemic and their income has been impacted a lot, I'm not a great advocate of this particular idea. However, creation of supernumerary seats and the fee revision for foreign students, including fee revision for international hostels, will be a good option, because I have seen as a member of one of the committee in Ministry of Education, the fee structure of most of the central universities, including fee structure for the foreign students, is quite low. Even though these students are primarily getting fellowship from ICCR, and there appears no justification in keeping very low fee structure, which is being financed by ICCR. Another areas can be, we can develop or design or lend our equipments, particularly sophisticated equipments, to the industry, so that it can be a win-win situation for all. Now, the government of India is also thinking such a model where these institutes, research institutes, can provide their expertise both in terms of intellectual soft power as well as the sophisticated instruments which they have with their institutions to the industry. By this way, industry will get the expertise and the authentic reporting system from the institutes of repute, and they will also earn a certain revenue, which will definitely enhance their research programs and quality education services in these educational institutions. Similarly, there are certain self-financing programs in addition to the academic programs which are approved by the UGC. Universities can also think of spinning off certain self-financing programs which are in great demand in that particular area, considering the requirements of a particular area and the expertise available with the educational institutions. These programs can be tailor-made and offered to the students in such a way that it becomes relevant, and it also used to be a revenue earner for the relevant institutes. We all are aware that CSR program has been mandated by the government. Any company which is in top 500 company of India and it has been profitable, they have to earmark 2% of their profit for activities which are covered under CSR. And I am glad to inform you that as per the notification by Government of India, educational activities are very much covered under this umbrella. Educational medical services are covered under this ambit. Therefore, the universities and the institutes of higher education can try that they should get CSR funding from the industries, from the companies who are operating in their area, and they can also in turn provide these companies to the necessary output, necessary consultancy, necessary expertise as far as their intellectual strength are concerned, so that it becomes a win-win situation for both the academic institutions and the industries. Sathi is one of the programs which the government has designed and also financed. PHU is one of the finance beneficiaries under Sathi program. This is basically a model where government has promoted a hand-holding tool for the industries, and it's a collaborative program with the universities and the industries, wherein sophisticated equipments are financed to the educational institutions, and in turn, they are expected to provide maximum time to the industries in order to promote industrial research and collaborative program. Also, they have to dedicate certain time for the academic research related in those areas for in-house scientists. This way, we can think that we can manage our finances in such a way which can lead to a sustainable revenue stream for the organization, and it will ensure that the organization remains robust and sustainable in a long period of time. Some other areas or ideas through which revenue augmentation can be made. On previous slides, primarily ideas were related to generation of revenue through various means like self-financing courses and fee revision of international students, or consultancy program. There are some ideas where we can also save our valuable revenue, and it is also a kind of revenue generation only. If you save your expenditure or cut your expenditure or augment your expenditure, then also it is possible that the revenue available for overall development of the institution is adequate. So some ideas through which we can augment revenue flow for the organization are: one is e-procurement. This is electronic procurement and very efficient way of purchasing. Normally, purchases were made, as all of us are aware, through physical tendering process in which we used to publish our advertisement in newspapers, and then physical tenders were received in the organization, and then these were opened, and finally works were awarded. But this was a cumbersome issue involving a lot of manpower as well as time. So e-procurement is a very, very efficient and objective process, and it is controlled through digital signature, wherein the persons you have defined as bid opener, once they take their digital signature at the designated date and time, then only bids become visible to the organization or the tender hosting authority. And entire process is paperless. You can award the purchase order on e-procurement portal also. Now this has also been supplemented to various ideas, and one of them is GEM, which has been made mandatory. But wherever you don't have the exact product on GEM, then you can host the tender on e-procurement site. And this is not only cost efficient, it saves a lot of manpower and of course our valuable time. Then purchase of books and journals through e-tenders, open tenders. I have done one such experiment in BHU, and I can gladly share with you that discount on printed price what we received for purchase of books and e-journals was up to 33-34%. And this is a good way to replace the archaic guidelines given by the Good Office, which is basically a consortium of publishers, and that way they are only taking care of the interest of the publishers, not the academic institutions or the institutes of higher education. So by this way, through e-tenders or open tenders, purchase of books and journals is a efficient means, and I think that educational institutes can benefit a lot. Third is promotion of e-learning, e-governance. Nowadays, basically, along with all the bad effects of pandemic, two or one good effect, we can say that it has forced upon us as far as e-learning, e-governance is concerned, and all of us are promoting these ideas in a great way, day in, day out. Today, we are connected on online webinar. This is an example. Otherwise, we were spending a lot as far as conferences, seminars, selection committee, finance committee, executive council meetings, lots of physical meetings in the university system were taking place. Now, majority of these events have been replaced by e-mode, and it has saved a lot of resources for the academic institutions, which may be diverted for other useful purposes, which is need of power, because most of the organizations are struggling for financial resources in these days, particularly those who are mainly dependent on government finances. Another aspect is publication of e-brochure, e-prospectus, e-booklets for seminars, conferences, admissions. These things are already happening in most of the academic institutions, and it has definitely augmented valuable resources for these organizations. Next is one way of augmenting revenue. Revenue can be augmented is in different ways. First way I have discussed, those were primarily focused on revenue generating ideas. Second way was primarily focusing on cost augmenting measures through which we can optimize our cost structure in the organization and thus make available valuable resources for other development needs. Third is there are enabling provisions by Government of India. These have been notified by various ministries in order to promote academic environment and make available resources for these organizations, paving a way that these organizations can generate valuable resources if these provisions are fully utilized. One is there are various provisions under direct taxes, indirect taxes, other beneficial benevolent provisions by various ministries, like Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So under direct tax, Income Tax Act, one such provision is Section 1023C of the Income Tax Act, which says that any income of an organization which is substantially financed by the government includes union government or the state government, any income of such organization is exempt, tax exempt. So if income is tax exempt, then naturally the overall yield for the organization is much more. We can understand this by example. Like if I earn 100 rupees and being in the highest tax bracket, I have to pay tax of rupees 31.4. Thus, the net income flow for me is only rupees 68.6. But for the universities or institutes of higher education, which are recognized by UGC or the Government of India, any income means any income from consultancy, maybe income from industrial collaboration, maybe income from any kind of income. There is no specific provisions that these income will be excluded. All the income are exempt from the income tax. Then there are certain weighted deductions for donations to scientific institutions or institutions which are carrying research activities. And this exemption has been given under Section 35(1)(2) of the Income Tax Act. What is weighted deduction? Weighted deduction means if you are donating 100 rupees to an academic institution A, the donor will get a benefit of 125 rupees in his taxable income, his or her taxable income. So it's a win-win situation for both the stakeholders. The donor is getting substantial relief from taxation in form of tax deduction of rupees 125, where he or she is donating rupees 100, and the university or academic institution is getting donation and thus earning valuable resources for the development needs. So if this provision is utilized fully in true spirit, and companies or the industrial organizations or the firms nearby those areas can be convinced about the benefits of these provisions, I think that institutions can earn robust and much more revenue for their development. Third is deductions for donation made to Institute of National Eminence. There is a provision wherein Government of India declaring certain institutions as Institute of National Importance. In the beginning of after independence, few institutions who have given a lot of social value and considering their contribution to national building, these institutions were granted the tag of Institute of National Eminence. Later on, this list was expanded. Initially, this list is available in Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution, wherein University of Delhi, PHU, AMU, Hyderabad, these three universities are initially part of Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution. Later on, this list has been expanded, and all Indian Institutes of Technology, NIT, these institutes have been included under Institute of National Eminence or National Importance, and these and donation to these institutions will give the donor a benefit of 100% under Section 80G2F of the Income Tax Act. So there are two different provisions available to academic institution. One is under Section 35, wherein an institution has been recognized as research institution. Then there is a provision of weighted deduction for those institutions, and there is another provision under Section 80G2F of the Income Tax Act, where donor is receiving 100% deduction if he or she is making donation to an institute of national eminence. Then there is a provision of accelerated depreciation allowance under Rule 5.2 of Income Tax Rule. This is again if you give certain amount as donation or contributions to academic or research or scientific research organization, then the companies or the firm are giving the benefit of accelerated depreciation allowance in the Rule 5.2 of Income Tax Rules. So these are the provisions under direct tax regime, wherein if the institutes are utilizing these provisions fully and truly, I think it gives an important tool to garner valuable revenue for the needs of these organizations. Then similar provisions also exist under indirect taxes, which include customs duty, central excise duty, GST. Now earlier it was service tax. So there are various exemptions available, particularly if you are importing certain sophisticated equipments or these equipments are related for research purposes, then there is a exemption clause in central excise duty or GST. Similar provision is available for service tax. Exemption is also provided under FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. As the notification made by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, any institution whose accounts are audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, then then these institutions are not required to have separate exemption under FCRA, and they can take contribution from any foreign citizen or foreign organization for objective and purpose of the organization. Then we have talked about corporate social responsibility, which is a benevolent provision introduced under Companies Act. So basically, up to now, we have talked how we can optimize our revenue stream in order to make our organization robust and relevant for a long period of time. And we have already discussed these areas. These are the summary, basically. Some of the good governance idea related to e-procurement, e-governance, and then purchase of resources, particularly academic resources, through competitive tender, and promotion of e-learning, e-governance we have already discussed, and then rationalization of expenditure in almost all areas of academic transactions, and then making beneficial use of provisions made under various acts, such as Direct Taxes Act, Indirect Taxes Act, and other notification issued by the Government of India, particularly by Corporate Affairs Ministry for CSR and such benevolent provisions. Then, in continuation to procurement, there is another provision of e-auction, wherein we auction our disposable products through electronic mode. E-procurement is basically for purchase. This is electronic version of disposable. So these are the tools through which we can make our institutions robust as well as transparent and objective. Another way of revenue generation in these days is a loan from AFA. Many persons, if you talk, they don't consider loan as a very good company. But according to me, it's my candid opinion that this loan from HEFA is a very, very good idea if it can be utilized substantially and in a productive manner. Because nowadays, that capital grant from Government of India is not available in abundance, which used to be available 10, 20 years ago. So naturally, there is a paradigm shift as far as financing pattern by the government is concerned. So earlier, all capital needs were met by the Government of India through grant in aid, but now grant in aid is a very, very limited resource. Now, most of these capital needs are met through HEFA. I have also prepared relevant guidelines and salient features of HEFA loan in very crisp and nutshell manner. If I have to analyze this aspect, I can say that under window 3, wherein most of the organizations are being funded, you have to pay only 10% back as far as principal amount is concerned, and that too in 10 years. So literally, you have to pay only 1% per annum. Entire interest is being paid by Government of India. So for example, if you are borrowing 100 crores, then 10 crores is to be paid by the academic institution, and that too in 10 years. Thus, academic institution has to pay only 1 crore every year up to a period of 10 years, and you can build a very productive asset costing 100 crores. For example, if we want to construct an international hostel of 500 capacity, maybe costing around 100 crores. And if you can fix a fee structure, what can be called reasonable. Reasonable means depending upon the cost of living prevalent in that city, wherever this international hostel is located, you can have a lower fee in comparison to the market rental. Of course, you can have, but still you can earn handsome money from the international hostel. Similarly, solar power project can be thought of generating. By that way, you can substantially reduce your power bill. I have seen particularly, I can give you the example of GHU. We are paying almost rupees 10 to 11 per unit, which is charged from industrial establishments. That annual electricity bill alone is around 66 crore for the university. So right now we have commissioned 6 megawatt solar power project. This is basically a roof power project. And additionally, we are planning 25 megawatt solar power project in our remote campus, that is Rajiv Gandhi South Campus, approximately 70 kilometers from the main campus. So if both solar power projects are on a stream, university will be net electricity surplus. And by that way, we are able to save a huge amount of money. If entire 66 crore will not be reduced to nil, at least we will be able to save 35 to 40 crore annually. And that's a huge amount. So these are salient features of HEFA. Then various windows have been discussed. Window 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 windows, and then there are financing pattern and guidelines. Under window 4, it's a 100% principal payment and interest, both by the government of India. Under window 3, 10% principal repayment is to be made out by the academic institutions. Under window 1 and 2, 25% principal payment is required to be made by the academic institutions. Thus, there are various windows under which HEFA is financing for capital needs of the academic institutions. These are the areas and the probable guidelines for which HEFA is financing to institutes of higher education, particularly academic institutions, library, labs, workshop. Residential area include hostels, faculty quarters, staff quarters, sports facility, and common facilities. Then these are the area connectivity and smart classrooms and self-sustained projects. These are negative lists for which HEFA is not funding to an academic institution. Swimming pools, shopping complexes, food courts, stadium, convention halls of more than 500 capacity, ring road into the entire campus, guest house, etc. These are some of the areas for which HEFA is not funding. Otherwise, all other activities are primarily covered under financing window of HEFA. So in my opinion, the finances being made available by HEFA should be considered positively, and the institution which will be able to utilize these provisions in a constructive manner, I'll see that after a decade or so, these institutions will be definitely on the top of the academic institution, because they will fully utilize potentials of borrowing, particularly provided this time, point of time. I don't know what will happen to HEFA funding after 10 years or so. Maybe this funding may not be available by that point of time. But right now, we can utilize this facility to a great extent. And now the main focus area, that is function of the audit. So audits are primarily of two types, external audit and internal audit. External audit is basically the audit which is conducted by Comptroller and Auditor General of India. And internal audit is the audit system or function which is designed by the organization itself. So as far as external audit is concerned, there are constitutional provisions for working and duties and functions of Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India is concerned. So there are two basic documents. One is Constitution of India and another is Comptroller and Auditor General Act 1971. This act has been amended from time to time, and this act in details provide various provisions relating to salary, allowances, tenure, eligibility conditions of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. As far as constitutional provisions are concerned, Article 148 to 151 of the Indian Constitution deals with the Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Article 148 talks about that there shall be a Comptroller and Auditor General of India, which will be primarily responsible for auditing all the amount given by the Union of India or the state government or any organization which is given a grant in aid or loan by the union or state government. And it talks about the eligibility condition and tenure and other service conditions of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Article 149 talks about duties and powers of CNAG of India. And in this act, EPC Act, that is Comptroller and Auditor General Duties, Power and Conditions Act 1971. This also gives a detailed account of duties, power, and performance of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Then Article 150 of Indian Constitution provide a form of accounts on which accounts of the union government, state government, as well as other organization which is given loan or grant in aid by these governments. So the Article 150 gives forms of accounting which has to be on which the accounts is to be presented. And then Article 151 finally talks about audit reports. On the basis of audit conducted by Comptroller General of India, audit reports are prepared, and in case of union government or organization coming under the ambit of union government, the report is to be presented to the President of India, who will lay these reports in both sessions of the Parliament. Similarly, for the legislative assemblies or the states, these reports, audit reports, will be presented to the governor of the concerned state, and then governor will ensure that the report is laid before the House in the state legislative assembly. In brief, this is the mandate of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. The mandate includes auditing of entire grant of union and states, government body and corporations, and the authorities. CNAG has to audit all expenditure, all receipts, other grants and benefits of the union government, as well as each state government and union territory. That is section 13 and 16 of and this is CNAG DPC Act 1971. Then CNAG has to audit bodies, authorities, government companies, and other corporations which have been given grant in aid or loan either by the union government or the state government. So by this provision, all the universities come into the ambit of CNAG audit by virtue of these provisions. Then scope of external audit, as far as Indian Constitution and CNAG DPC Act 71 is concerned, the extent is not limited, rather it's very wide, and scope and extent of audit shall be determined the CNAG. Such authority is not limited by race, then to ensure that the objectives of audit are fully achieved. In certain circumstances, when it is not feasible to conduct comprehensive audit, CNAG, in its discretion, may curtail part of its audit, and it may also decide this provisions for a particular class of transactions or particular class of organizations, and decide that only limited checks in relation to certain transactions or organizations shall be carried out. The broad objective of audit, whether it is external audit or internal audit, is to examine the legality, the validity, the regularity, propriety, economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of financial management and public administration in any institute. For our reference, it is institutes of higher education. So, many persons or many organizations do audit as necessary evil, but this is not my point of view. Audit provides you very necessary input as far as financial health of the organization is concerned, and it gives you timely warning if there are certain irritants, if there are certain policy gaps, if there are implementation issues. If audit is conducted in true letter and spirit, it gives you a lot of input which can improve the financial health of the organization. Not only financial health, overall working of the organization can be improved a lot if the outcome of audit is implemented by the organization and if the audit function is carried out in true letter and spirit. Right now, I have talked basically on external audit, which is conducted by various offices located across the country by CNAG of India. Now, I'm giving some focus, some ideas on internal audit office. Internal audit office is an integral part of every academic organization. And in fact, if you look into the organizational chart of any central university or any institutes of higher education, audit function has been given primary importance, and there are reasons to do so. The basic rules and responsibility of internal audit office in any organization can be, I have listed some of these functioning. There may be many more. We can discuss with you what can be other areas, but briefly, to ensure the correctness and completeness of accounts, examine the accounts to ensure proper utilization of fund after sanctioning of competent authority, ensure that the resources expended by the respective organizations have been done in a proper way and it has been utilized for the purpose for which it was sanctioned, in order to keep a constant visual on all the financial transactions in the institutes, the test audit is to be done, find out whether there have been any financial malpractices in incurring expenditure, point out mistakes, and suggest remedial measures so that compliances can be made in future. So in my opinion, audit is not just fault finding mission. It gives you corrective idea. It gives you a valuable input in order to design remedial action. So in a way, it's a precursor to preventive vigilance. Basically, it is one of the finest tools for preventive vigilance, so that we have not to do actual vigilance of our officers. So these precursors are very, very important in order to make our institutions robust and functional in a transparent and objective. Another objectives and function of internal audit can be verify physical assets from time to time, check of pay fixation, statement of retirement benefits and other benefits being given to various academic members of the university, help in preparation of annual account and balance sheet, basically annual accounts, liaising with the government audit team to ensure the smooth and timely completion of audit and its follow-up action, including reply to draft para, which is placed before the Houses of Parliament, to ensure laying of annual accounts of the institute before the Parliament as per schedule intimated by the ministry, to assist the department in order to set audit. So if you look into details of all these functions, basically functions of internal audit office can be summarized in 2-3 broad categories. One is basically the preventive role, and thus it works as a tool of preventive vigilance and exercise checks and balances on financial transactions, and it ensures that the expenditure has been made correctly for the purposes for which it has been sanctioned, and it has not been incurred without proper sanctioning or sanctioning of the competent authority. Another area of internal audit office is providing consultancy, providing inputs, providing guidance to the various academic units functioning in the university, because many a times these academic units are headed by the person who are not very proficient in finance and auditing function. So naturally, they need advice of certain experts in order to see that transactions are carried out as per the provisions of the concerned acts, statutes of the university, as well as the Government of India guidelines. Internal Audit Office can play a pivotal role as far as providing correct guidance in day-to-day transactions are concerned. Then third aspect of Internal Audit Office is very, very important, to work as a liaison with CNAG office to see that auditing is conducted as per schedule in a timely manner, and outcome of the audit, follow-up actions from the audit are complied within the time period, preparation of annual accounts, and to ensure that these annual accounts are placed before both the Houses of Parliament within the schedule as notified by the Government of India. So these are prima facie role of internal as well as external audit or in an organization is concerned. In my opinion, if internal audit is very, very strong and it does due diligence, then it reduces objections from external audit, that is CNAG. So it is need of the hour, rather it is imperative and desirable for any organization and senior management of the organization to see that its internal audit office is strong enough and it carries out the work in letter and spirit, which is expected from the internal audit of that organization. As far as external audit is concerned, we have to be careful if certain issues have been found which are serious in nature. There are revenue lapses. There are lapses has been pointed out for not proper utilization of fund or utilization of fund without sanctioning of competent authority. Then a corrective remedial measures should be taken immediately, and it should not be left unanswered for a long period of time, which may warrant adverse action on part of the Ministry or Government of India. So outcome of audit is, after thorough scrutiny, outcome is usually communicated to the concerned organization, and outcome may be following. It may result into procedural lapse, it may result into accounting lapse, and improper maintenance of records and accounting books. So all three gives the senior management of the organization a valuable input for course correction, and the remedial action is to be taken by the organization in order to see that organization remains robust, transparent, and objective, and it caters to the needs of all the stakeholders. Then, very briefly, I will also dwell upon types of audit. Primarily, there are many types of audit, but mainly these are financial audit, compliance audit, performance audit, transaction audit, IT audit. IT means not income tax, it is information technology, and thematic audit. Very briefly, I will dwell upon some of audit types. This financial audit is basically to determine whether an organization's financial statement and information is properly prepared, it is full and true, it is complete in all respects, and it provides adequate disclosures in accordance with accounting standard prescribed by the regulatory agency. In our case, Ministry of Education has provided a format for annual accounts we prepare, as well as disclosure norms. The ministry has also provided accounting standards which are to be followed while preparing the annual accounts of any organization. So the purpose of financial audit is to see that where an organization's account is full and true, and it complies all the accounting standards notified by the regulatory authority. It also sees that the financial situation of a particular organization, whether it is free from material misstatement or error or not. For example, if an organization or the university is having 10,000 books or 1 lakh books, and that is not reflected in annual accounts, it can be construed that the financial situation and statement of the university is not completely disclosed, and relevant disclosure has not been made. Or, for example, an organization is having 100 patents, and these patents have been not disclosed. or the physical assets which has come to the university in the relevant period of time or financial year, or the donations, or the CSR money, or any foreign contributions, if these transactions have been occurred during the relevant financial year, and in the annual statement, these statements are missing, then it will be construed that financial statement or the annual accounts prepared by the university is not full and true, and financial audit involves, and it has a very, very pivotal role as far as pointing out certain gaps in financial statements of any organization. Then there is compliance audit. It is independent of, is basically an independent assessment to see whether on a particular subject matter, it may be financial matter, it may be non-financial matter. For example, we want to see what is the status or what is the compliance status of CBCS, choice-based credit system. Many organizations, academic institutions are following these days. You want to see what is the compliance status of CBCS in the organization. So compliance audit is basically a tool to see the various aspects of compliance. Compliance has been made related to a particular subject. It can be financial. Financial subjects may involve taxation audit. It may involve statutory audits. For example, university wants to see whether the university is fully compliant on statutory issues or not. Compliance audit can be a very useful tool. Statutory dues include PF payment to all the employees, ESI payment to all the employees, timely retirement benefits to all the employees. If the work is carried through some outsource agency like CPWD, labor cess is being paid or not regularly. So compliance audit is a tool to ensure or to ascertain whether all the facets of compliance related to a particular subject, which can be a financial subject or a non-financial matter, are complied or not. Then performance audit. It is again an independent tool and a credit-worthy examination of whether an organization, operation, programs, funds, and activities are in accordance with the principle of economy, efficiency, and exigency, and whether there is room for improvement. So performance audit is basically to see what is the performance status of a particular organization. For example, there is a MOU between Ministry of Education and the relevant organization or the university in case of Institute of Eminence. And the Ministry of has given 15 broad parameters on which performance of the educational institutions will be judged. Such parameters are including academic excellence. For example, what is the position of university on international grading, national grading like NAAC grading or NIRF ranking, international ranking, that is US ranking or THE, Times Higher Education ranking. One parameter is that is basically gauging your excellence as far as ranking is concerned. Then there can be parameters related to overall academic input of the university and student to teacher ratio, whether it is desirable or not. If as per norm, it has to be 1:15 or 1:20, and in a particular year, whether institute has improved or not. Then where there are adequate financial coverage for the students. So what is the status of financial inclusion? What is the status of research? How many research projects university is carrying? And what are the outcome of these research? How many patents have been generated? Whether any copyright has been generated. Then there can be outreach program, how in an effective way any organization is serving to the society. This is very, very important issue in a country like India. So the outreach program, for example, in agriculture, whether we have developed any seed variety which is very beneficial to the farmer community, which may have higher yield, or which may have zinc included, it has included the zinc component also, or whether a rice is having lower glycemic index, which can be very, very useful for diabetic patients, or whether any crop has been developed for dry area, which requires very less amount of water, because in many areas in India, water is a very, very serious issue. So there can be very varied parameters on which overall status of academic institution can be gauged. And for this, performance audit can be a very, very important tool. So this gives you, in brief, as a dashboard, idea to the senior management people wherever intervention is required and whether the university is progressing as per desired framework or it requires remedial action or course correction. And there are, as we talk that IT audit. IT audit is basically audit of the system which you have deployed in your organization, whether it is fulfilling the purpose and giving you the desired result or not. Many organizations have adopted e-governance, and many of the activities starting from admission to financial activities are conducted primarily through online activities, and physical intervention is very, very limited. But it needs to be seen whether the expectation of the stakeholders, including students and the teachers, have been met through these new innovative ideas or not. If the expectations are not met, the ideas may be innovative, but it needs serious course correction. So IT audit gives you the idea whether the system deployed by an organization is appropriate and adequate or it needs change. Then there is thematic audit. Thematic audit is basically a theme-based audit that you conduct audit on a particular theme. For example, I discussed with you, CVCS may be a theme or international ranking may be a theme. What is the status of PHU before a decade and within a decade, and what will be its status after a decade as far as international ranking is concerned. So it's a theme. On any theme, university can design according to its needs. Theme can vary, but it can design a theme and accordingly conduct audits. And finally, the audits, the various types of audits, what we have discussed right now, there can be a fine blend of all of them taken together or some of them. So either some aspects of compliance audit or performance audit or thematic audit or compliance audit can be amalgamated, and it can be designed in a effective and efficient audit tool so that it can truly gauge the performance of the academic institution and suggest the outcome required by. So I have deliberated. Right now, it was a monologue, and very patiently, all of you have heard my deliberations. I would like that I'm also benefited by your experience and observation. I would like to offer it to Dr. Nilesh ji
Thank you so much, sir, for giving an elaborate overview related to this topic, which is very important, as I said earlier. And also, I think most of the participants now, our participants has also increased from 90 to around 110 and 115. So they may be very much interested in asking you question. So
Yes.
I now to kindly raise their hand through through virtual mode, so that we can have interaction with our keynote speaker, Samuel. Mr.
I request the participants, if you have any queries regarding the session, you may raise that to the panelist, and you will be able to happy address to your queries. There are a couple of hands. Seema Agarwal, you may ask a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Samuel, sir. Namaskar to all panelists. The presentation made by Abhay, sir, was very extensive, very informative. Sir, I am a principal of an affiliated college. Earlier, we were in granting aid, but now we are in self-finance, because in Rajasthan, now no grant is allowed to private colleges. So now our status has been changed. We are a self-finance college. And we are exempted under section 1023C. So the income is exempted. Now my question is that in this status, if any company want to do something in our college under their CSR activities, can we accept that kind of financial aid or any kind of help? Does it affect our this status of exemption?
So the various beneficial provisions of exemption, what I have discussed, relates to the status of particular academic institution. For example, you have said that the status has been changed from grant and aid institution to self-financing institution. So what is the status? Institution substantial financing is made by the institution itself, or it is government? What is the status?
Sir, right now, fully self-finance, our only one source of income, that is fees from students or interest on savings. If we have some savings, we have only these two major sources of income. No government grant.
So let me share with you, there are two provisions. One is related to whether the institution is substantially financed by the government. For example, central university, state universities, etc.
Yes.
And other provision is also related to the organization which are not substantially financed by the government, but these are engaged in educational activities. And then your organization can apply to the income tax department for such kind of exemption, and this is granted. So once you have this exemption with you, then you can take CSR and any such enabling provisions for the development of your organization.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more point.
Yes.
That is, every time whenever we buy something for the college or we pay for any services, always we have to pay a huge amount as GST.
Yes.
And we are exempted from GST, so we are not able to get the input credit on the GST which we paid. So every time it pains us that why we are paying a huge bulk as GST. So is there will be any provision that educational institute will be exempted from paying such big amount as GST on all services and purchases which we made?
Very good question. I'm very happy that you have raised this issue. In fact, in the recently report which has been submitted to Government of India, I have highlighted this issue that before GST regime, it was a VAT regime wherein certain educational services used to be exempt. It was a negative list. It was called negative list, where the services included in the list were not taxed. Services were transportation services, catering services, examination services, and auxiliary educational services. These four services were used to be exempt taxation before GST. After GST, GST was considered to be a neutral regime. So naturally, all these services should have been exempted.
Yes,
But
sir.
last year, the government of India has issued a notification wherein, except for primary education, the exemption which was available to educational institutions earlier were withdrawn. So now we are in a situation that we are even paying for educational services, which is not
Yes.
warranted. And in my report, I have recommended to Government of India, if you want to promote academic excellence in the country, we want that our institutions should be in top 100, 200, 500, whatever, then this is a counterproductive measure. In fact, the enabling provisions which were able to give academic activities a boost should be continued. But let us see how government reacts with it. I'm happy that you have raised this question. I would be happier if the vice chancellors and senior persons in the university system and institutes of academic institutes will raise this issue to the government of India. It's desirable.
Yes. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Samuel.
Go to the next person, George Prekos.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the elaborate deliberations of the subject. See, my doubt was already cleared by the earlier person who has raised it. But also there is one doubt that, this you are mainly concerning these deliberations with universities and institutions of higher learning, similar institutions. Ours is a self-financing college, like the earlier attendant has pointed out. Say our remuneration, the income is only from the fees which is collected from the students, and no other income is generated from the institution. So it's only a very limited income, which, and also the scope of collecting fees without the government mandate or the stipulated fees is also in violation of the university rules. So our income is very limited, and there is no scope for generating additional revenue. In this case, is there any advice which you can give to solve this problem?
Sure. I'm happy that you have raised this issue, because nowadays augmenting revenue is a serious challenge to all the organizations, and particularly to the self-finance like yours is even much more. So then the role of investment policy becomes very, very important. I can suggest you some of the ways which I have experimented. Most of the institutes are parking their funds, surplus fund, in the banks, right? And banks are not offering very attractive rate of return nowadays. So if you can explore the idea of government security, particularly the fund you don't need immediately, you will have regular flow of income in form of regular interest payout, as well as highest amount of security, because the government security or state development loan is guaranteed by the RBI. So virtually there is no risk. But if interest rate in a bank account, maximum you will get 6% per annum, for which also you have to fight. But in GSEC and SDL category, you can very easily get a return of 7% and with highest degree of safety. Secondly, some of the corporates bonds issued by PSUs, like the ONGC, like PFC, like RAC, whether the holding of the government is substantial. Therefore, it gives the credibility and sustainability that the policy will be controlled by the government. And again, these bonds are offering attractive rate of return. In case of PFC, RSC, etc., it is around 7.5%. And again, you have a very higher degree of safety. Ultimately, you can rely on the rating of the rating agencies. So if these are rated as AAA, like Power Finance Corporation or Power Grid or ONGC or REC, then you may get a higher rate of return at the same time, having a very high degree of safety. However, these products are suitable only for the duration. If you don't need the entire amount and you need the regular fund flow. For example, we are getting a lot of money for a scholarship, endowment. So we need to pay annually scholarship amount only. We don't need entire sum. And these funds, endowment amounts which we are receiving either from foreign country or India, we are investing these amounts for long-term purposes, either in GSEC or SDL or the very good quality corporate papers which I have discussed with you. Secondly, before I joined the organization, PSU used to maintain a current account. In current account, you used to get 0 interest. So immediate one thing what I had done, I have converted all the current account into flexi current. It has all the benefits of a current account, but not the disadvantages of a current account. And I am getting interest, and interest is paid as per the duration the amount was available in that current account. Suppose amount was there for 7 days, I will get interest for 7 days. If amount was there for 3 months, I will get the interest for 3 months. Otherwise, I was not getting any interest. So some ideas can be thought of, the limited revenue generation can be augmented. Thirdly, we had certain facilities, some sophisticated instruments, guest house, when 24/7, 365 days, these facilities were not used or required by BH. So we thought of lending it to, hiring it to the concerned organization which require it. And this also gives us a substantial amount of revenue. So something can be thought of. These are very basic ideas. You can discuss in detail. It needs an entire one program.
Thank you, sir. But the problem is that we haven't got that much surplus fund to park it anywhere. We are struggling to pay salaries. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, next one. Next one.
Senvil Tangavel, you may ask a question.
This is Senvil Kumar.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Senvil Kumar. Sir, I would like to know the importance of 12B that is there when we want to apply for CSR relevant programs.
Can you repeat your question?
Sir, 12B status from the university level and its importance to CSR relevant programs.
Is asking about UGC 2F and 12B status, which is given by UGC to the institution.
Yes. So, yes, as far as academic institutions and academic programs are considered, if CSR is given for educational activities, I don't think it is one of the conditions laid down under CSR notification. You can go through the notification issued by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. I can also provide you the notification, but I have not seen that 2G and 2F has been made one of the precondition for ensuring CSR for education. If the institute is engaged in educational activity, I think it can take CSR fund.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your clear explanation.
Next one.
Seema Agarwal.
Yes, sir. My question is regarding, as Abhay sir has said, for augmentation of fund, we can use our guest house, seminar halls for rent purpose or to give them to other institution. But as per my knowledge, if we are exempted under section 1023, then we are not allowed to earn income through all these activities, as per my knowledge. See, because we are in our college, we are having big seminar hall. Anyone ask, we give them, but we do not charge because that little sum may disturb our income tax status. So this is my knowledge, sir. Kindly update about this.
Basically, the precondition which has been given along with exemption in income tax, that educational institutions should fully and substantially exist for the purpose of education. There are debates if certain facilities are given for part-time, if institution is not in a capacity to fully utilize it, or it does not require it, then I don't think it will disturb the exemption status of the organization per se. However, some income tax authority can take a narrow view, what you are afraid of. But in my view, occasional lending out or hiring certain facilities which you have, and the organization is not requiring that activity on particular that day, will not disturb the income tax exemption status, in my view.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
K. Chennakeshav.
Hello.
K. Chennakeshav, you may ask a question.
Sir, good evening, sir. Hello.
Ask, please ask.
Sir, it is enough. I am having one curious question, sir. Don't take it in other way. Just, sir, I would like to ask you, in our education system, mostly people doesn't consider the private people's experience, teaching experience, equivalent to government. It is in why, sir? Both are paying tax.
Yes.
Both are serving nation directly or indirectly, either private employee or government employee. Both are serving the nation, no, sir.
I 100% agree with you, and there should not be any discrimination between private and government organizations. See, these are basically a biased mindset where we think that government organizations are superior and private organizations are not superior. If you see the experience worldwide, some of the finest organizations are private institutions. So I don't find merit in that as far as mindset is concerned. But ultimately, conditions are notified by the government, and I hope your consideration is positively taken by the government, and accordingly it should be amended.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Just I want to ask you, don't take it in the other way, sir.
No, perfectly all right. No?
Okay.
Dr. Savita Shetty.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a principal of a women's college in Maharashtra. In your presentation, you said regarding the income sources, endowment and donations are also there. Mine is a private college, but granting aid college. And in our internal audit, our auditor says that colleges cannot have any donations. Only the parent institution can have it. But colleges, they can't have any donation from any institution or any organization or any person also. So I would like to have a clarification on this, sir.
Yeah. Let me clarify. If the colleges or universities are being run by a society, then of course donation has to be received by the society in order to avail the benefit of exemption. But if college is independent itself, it has not under the control of any society or any such organization, then college or university can of course receive the donation. But if it is running or operated under the aegis of a society, then that particular society or the parent organization will receive the donation so that it remains tax exempt.
Thank you, sir.
And madam, even you can have one of them, our matrix, which is asking about the alumni contribution. So there is also a provision. We are asking whatever the amount which is the contributed by your alumni association. If you have a register any alumni association, you can have this. So there is no such that you can't have any. It can be through the alumni also, and whatever the sir has said. So there is a provision, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tax exemption will not be there.
I hope all the questions are completed. Maybe you can take up the chat questions on Q&A.
Chat question, Samuel ji, aap hi.
Yeah. Or you can end the session.
आप पढ़ेंगे?
Samuel, if it is there, we can take. I think 1 or 2 questions are there, Samuel. I think. Huh?
Two questions are there, ma'am.
Okay. Is it question answer or chat?
Question answer, ma'am. Question answer. They are asking actually, sir, how to go for the PFMS for the colleges, where the process is fully online or the simple one means the physical one they are asking about. PFMS related
Yes, yes. I know. Public fund management system is a transparent, objective, and efficient system, but it is completely online. If you wanted to know the detailed procedure, I can let you know. You can have my email, and whatever questions or doubts, whatever you have, I will be glad to answer those questions or queries. But it's a online platform, and transaction has to be done online.
The next question is basically related to it is necessary to have a GST number with the college.
Yes, it is necessary, particularly if you want to avail the beneficial provisions of GST. You need to have certain transactions to educational institutions are tax exempt. So those facilities will be available only when you will have GST number. So it is desirable that an institution should have GST. It is plain and simple. You have just to apply before the GST authority and you will get it.
Okay. So there's one last question, sir, we will be having, sir. So what are the ways and means for revenue augmentation in grant in 8 colleges?
I have already discussed several ways and means, and I had submitted a report to the Government of India. I told you in 2 committees I was there. One report was submitted in 2014. So entire report is basically to augment revenue for the organizations. It is for Central University, but you can apply it to any organization for a college or school, whatever. The 2014 report, entire report I can share with you. As far as 2016 report, which I had submitted in 2020, it is before the Government of India for consideration. So that report I cannot share right with you. But earlier report, of course, I can share with you. Entire report I will share, no problem. There are so many ideas.
So thank you so much, sir. I think many of the questions can be answered, and even we will be more of thinking of organizing more of webinar with you. I think because many of the questions answer takes the whole day for answering you, so that you can clearly explain them each and everything. So now we are proceeding for ending this session. So I like to call Dr. S. Srinivas, sir, Deputy Advisor to NAAC, to kindly give a vote of thanks. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Abhay Thakur, sir, for giving us for accepting our invitation, and we will be also willing to organize more of a webinar and also physical mode of interaction.
Admission letter, so
Okay, so Srinivas, sir.
Okay. I wish a very good afternoon to one and all. I take this opportunity to put all my gratitude in the form of words on behalf of the National Assessment and Accreditation Council and Banaras Hindu University. Dr. Abhay Kumar, sir, the finance officer of Banaras Hindu University, he has delivered a very good, wonderful, excellent talk, and he has covered many major aspects where all the higher education institution will feel they are having some doubts. Okay, he has covered what are the sources of income, revenue augmentation, how it can be done, revenue and cost saving measures, what are the measures, how e-procurement is useful and how it can be implemented, beneficial positions for accreditation and research institutions, IT exemptions, deductions for donations, etc. How to make the use of very good use of the budget, different financial agencies which are available. Okay, what are the different types of audits, the scope of audit, what are the articles on which government has framed these articles. Okay, types of audit, scope of audit he has covered, and sir has done some experiments. Okay, how to generate the revenue for the universities, and he has thrown light on theme-based audit and how to carry out the IT audit, performance audit for the benefit of the institution. So I would like to thank Dr. Abhay Kumar sir for his excellent, wonderful and meaningful and useful session. Sir, on behalf of NAAC and personally, I thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us. And most of the audience have raised their questions, and you have cleared all of them. Thank you very much, sir, from NAAC and myself, sir. Also, I take this platform to thank our beloved director, Professor S.C. Sharma, sir, for providing a platform to reach different universities and colleges in this pandemic situation. I extend my sincere thanks to all the faculty members and my senior colleagues at NAAC and my friend Nilesh Pandey and our deputy advisor Sujata Shanbog for chairing the session. I also thank our ICT team members, Amay Kumar sir and Samuel, for their enormous cooperation in organizing this event. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for their encouraging response and enthusiastic interest in the program. I once again thank everyone for making the program successful. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Samuel, we can end the program.
Thank you.